Markets are an additional strategic constraint discussed by the authors. Nonprofits and for-profits both face scope limitations in terms of their market. For-profits have considerable freedom as to which markets they choose and can base the decision solely upon core competencies, market opportunities, the resources available to them, and ultimately, profit potential. And these are the normal strategic, visionary, and financial constraints. They are free to venture into new markets. For example, when Starbucks or McDonald's began selling its coffee in grocery stores for people to purchase and enjoy coffee at home. Or often when actors or musicians try to market a brand of perfume or a line of clothing under their name. Nonprofits, on the other hand, have much less freedom in market considerations, as their market is usually an intrinsic part of the organization's mission laid out in the charter. A nonprofit organization that serves the poor in a local community cannot change into a historical preservation society or relocate regionally without violating its responsibilities to charters, supporters, employees, volunteers, and end clients, as well as possibly legal guidelines. Financial constraints are the third leg in the three-point model. Financial constraints include the organization's means of acquiring money, as well as the means by which it may use its capital to motivate internal and external stakeholders. For-profit organizations offer products or services in exchange for money. Nonprofits also offer products or services, although they may or may not receive money from customers for these services. Nonprofits raise money by fundraising instead, or along with selling services. Subcategories of revenues and incentives. Revenues. The focus of nonprofit organizations is or should be social change, and the generation of money, or revenue, is a necessary prerequisite in funding. By design, profit is not a consideration. In for-profit companies, the opposite is true. Profit is the end, and offering services or products is the means of profit generation. A nonprofit organization works to maximize service, so a decrease in the level of service provided would be acceptable only if the resulting increase in profit allowed for the creation of substantial new services in excess of the loss created by the initial service cut. In short, in for-profit organizations, profits are the property of the shareholders, while in nonprofits, any profit that accrues are the property of the cause for which the nonprofit serves. Incentives, another part of financial constraints, are what drive the members of an organization. Nonprofit organizations usually employ a mix of volunteers filling unpaid positions and employees working at a pay level lower than that of a similar position in a for-profit company. These nonprofit workers are motivated less by money and more by the societal change that they create through their work in the organization and the recognition that this brings them. A worker or manager in a for-profit organization will be more likely to accept a new technology or process because it is what is required to continue receiving money. Managers and workers at a nonprofit organization may be much more reluctant to accept new technology or process if they feel that it inhibits their personal ability to enact societal change. Now let's take a look at the process of innovation adoption in nonprofit organizations. The author's research found that as a group, nonprofits tend to be significantly more risk averse than for-profit organizations, due to such factors as their more complex structure of responsibility. This is in combination with the other structural and policy differences between nonprofits and for-profits, guide nonprofits away from the innovation path more typically followed by for-profit firms. Risk taking involves an organization's capacity for risk, its ability to take risk, and its willingness to do so, to think outside the box. The accountability of an organization for failure seems to be the most important factor. An organization's risk taking is based on how much failure it can tolerate, which in turn is directly related to the number of groups to which it is responsible and its reliance upon each group. A nonprofit organization is equally responsible to multiple groups, to multiple stakeholders. A for-profit responsibility is to its shareholders and the profit that the shareholders receive. Nonprofit organizations have a low tolerance for risk due to the fact that a failure in any area of the organization may effectively destroy the organization. For-profit organizations, in contrast, may even be expected to be willing to take risks in the hopes of obtaining a better return of their owner's investment. Disinclination towards risk-taking creates an organizational environment in which there is little use for research and development, or little use for increased learning capacity. This is especially true of nonprofits, as they typically function in sectors where innovation is not necessary for sustainable operation. Many nonprofits would be less able to take advantage of substantial innovation if they were to develop it. This obstacle derives from a regrettable short-sightedness among some, perhaps many, nonprofit members and supporters, in that they can more easily see the good of a dollar of their donation going to buy food for a starving child than they can that of a dollar going towards research on efficient food distribution routes. Even though a dollar in the second case might do more overall good for the cause, it is not a direct action in support of an organization's vision, and it may be hard or impossible to justify to stakeholders. Based on the distinct structure, policies, and responsibilities of nonprofits, we suggest that process innovation is a better fit with the interests of nonprofits than product innovations. Process innovation involves improving the existing services, not necessarily expanding markets or implementing new services. A nonprofit organization, where volunteer staffing is commonly employed, often lacks the learning capacity and general expertise necessary for the internal development of product innovation. Thus, the pursuit of product innovation would be a significant expenditure and risk for a nonprofit organization of any size, and as we have already learned, nonprofits are very risk adverse and generally do not think outside the box when it comes to innovation. Process innovation, by contrast, may yield immediate results beneficial to the organization's cause, making it less risky and, in the short run, less expensive. Large sections of the nonprofit sector revolve around the meeting of basic needs such as food, shelter, clothing, or education. This discourages product innovation due to the basic level of the services provided. We believe outside sources of innovation are the most beneficial choice for nonprofits due to three factors. These are identified by the author as an internal aversion to risk, a lack of internal expertise, and an increased value placed upon sustaining the organization rather than organizational growth and expansion. Internal innovation offers a nonprofit company the prospect of rewards due to first mover advantages, including a possibility for a temporary monopoly. Despite internal innovation's potential for yielding greater gain for the organization, nonprofits are usually too vulnerable to risk. Nonprofits are typically lack in internal expertise, the learning capacity necessary for internal innovation. Once you have completed all the readings and viewed all the lectures, you may complete the assignments for the week. Good luck.